Hello, everybody, and welcome to On the Flank, episode number 18. My name is John George. I'm one of your hosts alongside Joe Kirkpatrick. Say hello, Joe.
Hello, everybody.
And
Merry Christmas, kind of.
Yeah, kind of Merry Christmas. And when it comes to analysis, we are On the Flank. We're a little bit late here. It's a Wednesday, my dudes, and I was just a bit busy this weekend, unfortunately. But we're pushing it back. We're still here this week. It is the holiday season, Joe, so we're getting a little busy. But we've got a lot of things to talk about here. We got some more teams to preview, of course, like we always do at the end of the episodes. Until the season occurs, we will be previewing two of the teams in the second season of the Overwatch League. We've got some great news, including that schedule that came out. We're going to preview some of our favorite games, as well as what we think about the changes they've made to the schedule, and talk about some tickets, maybe possibly do some math. I know me and Joe did a bunch of math before this, right before this, on ticket prices. But to start it off, we did just get a patch, Joe. You are my patch man, and this is a Winter Wonderland patch. Would you like to... I mean, we already talked about this PTR patch, but we got some cool new cosmetics. You want to talk about them, Joe?
That's right. Yeah, it's been... it's been a little bit over a week now since it's gone out. But yeah, Winter Wonderland is live. This is 1.31. So with the actual mechanics of the patch, this is the one that had the shield bash nerf for Brig, Turner, and a little bit more of a healer, if you want to think it that way. Obviously, we don't have lots of public pro input yet, but we'll see. Also, it's the Doomfist changes, probably a little bit of a nerf for Doomfist. Bastion, McCree, Torbjorn buffs for Bastion spread in Sentry mode. McCree got a Fan of the Hammer buff, and Torb's Molten Core DPS was increased by like 10 or something. But yes, we talked about a little bit last week some of the Winter Wonderland skins. There's also one for Ashe and for Reinhardt and for Junkrat. The Junkrat Krampus is super cool. I would have bought it, but it's very expensive because it's a legendary skin.
Yes.
I also special shout out to the Torbjorn emote. Which, have you seen this Torb emote?
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it? Okay, yeah, it's like the Orisa puppy one, except Torb opens his present and out pops a bunch of little turrets, and they like hop around him, like they're pets or something. And I think it's called My Babies. It's the name of the emote. Anyway,
what else would it be called?
Yeah. Also, I think it was ZP maybe who tweeted that. He said something to the effect of Doomfist may be nerfed, but just a gentle reminder that the and they say voice line is a Winter Wonderland exclusive. So if you want that, you might have to buy that here before the event goes out.
Yeah.
And so the Owl Away skins that were on PTR, they're live now. So if you have at any point during the season bought a home skin for an Owl team or got an away skin from the Twitch All Access Pass, you now have the corresponding skin on the live server. So that's kind of cool. And any future ones that you buy, you'll get 2 skins for the price of 1. And the other change that I wanted to highlight cosmetically is that Bob is now golden if you own Ashe's golden weapons. Which is cool. Like the entire Bob is gold. Yeah. Not even just a little bit. Not even just his gun. No, the entire Bob is just made of gold now.
I mean, he is her weapon, so he deserves it. But yeah, I love all these cosmetic changes. I've said it once. I've said it twice. I'm gonna say it a third time. Winter Wonderland, my favorite event. Brings Christmas cheer. I also love one of the best part about Winter Wonderland is the kind of remixed Overwatch theme on the main menu for Christmas. Makes me happy.
Yeah.
But Owl Away skins, I'm super pumped about that update. I bet everyone's pumped. That makes the jerseys almost, or the skins almost, just worth it even more, because I love the away skins. You get 2 skins now per purchase, which is $5 still. So that's good. Um, and yeah, I haven't been able to log on yet and do all this stuff. I'm a busy man with Christmas and all this stuff happening, and I'm moving, and it's crazy. But I want to be able to log in hopefully this week, and have some fun and comp with these nerfs. Hopefully, I haven't heard too much. Have you been playing, Joe?
Not tons, no. I know there've been rumblings on Twitter from coaches and stuff saying that scrims have been interesting, but we don't know exactly what that means, obviously.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's something.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
we'll find out down the line. Obviously, we're not going to find out this soon if anything's changed. But
yeah,
well, the
'cause
changes, I feel like Goats is definitely going to be weaker with the changes.
yeah, or at least it's gonna have to play in a different way for sure. So.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the event going on. Patch 1.31. And now we head into the news. Not too much this week, but we did get the Gladiators another two-way contract. This one with Panker, their Gladiators Legion player, Panker. Um, he's a tank player, so they get another tank. They get a nice backup tank if they need him, and they get to keep him on Gladiators Legion, which is great for the Contenders team down there. I think Panker's a great addition, and I think Gladiators Legion is great overall. They've not now got Corey left Gladiators Legion to go to Washington Justice, and Blase, their other DPS, back left back in
For
October
Boston.
to go to Boston. There's some great talent here in Gladiators Legion. Still waiting for Gods, my main man Gods, to get picked up by an Overwatch League team. He'll get there one day. But yeah, I can't be upset at any of these. I think these are some nice talented players that can mold in well. And LA themselves finally gets to take advantage of one of these players in their contenders team. What do you think about Panker?
Yeah, I think I'm not personally a diehard Gladiators fan, but I know most of the diehard Gladiators fans. This didn't come as a surprise to them, for sure. That's in fact their Gladiators release video. Announcing Panker. It's just screenshot after screenshot uh, Gladiators fans, harassing them on Twitter and Reddit and all that. But I think if they had been in a position, the Gladiators, that they were concerned about their tank line, I think certainly this has been relieved. I think to an extent, I have some pretty solid confidence, I think, in these guys. But it's to have those resources available. I think it's going to be definitely used here
Yeah,
uh,
I
for the
completely
Gladiators.
agree.
Yeah.
They've continued to have one of the best off seasons in the Overwatch League this season. Decay, Roar, Panker, Ripa, all great pickups. Um, Fantastic. And now they got a backup tank. With Ripa, they got their backup support in case Shaz or Big Goose need relieving. Now, in case Roar needs relieving, they do have Panker, which is good for them. Always good to have backups. Always good, especially talented ones like Panker. So yeah, that's the one bit of roster news this week. Gladiators. Then we got, of course, as promised. I think this was exactly a week ago now, from when we're recording this. They revealed the Overwatch League schedule in its entirety. And I'm so thankful we got like PDFs of these, because that is my favorite way to view it. You can see so many games at once with that PDF. But we got a bunch of tickets started going on sale. We got more information on the homestand weekends. Dallas Fuel, Atlanta Reign, and the Los Angeles Valiant, like we predicted last week. I think I mentioned Los Angeles Valiant. I know everyone's like, why the Valiant? And I think we said it last week. They're like the only ones to officially announce like where they're playing next year. So it makes sense why they were chosen. because they actually have an arena. Atlanta Rain is like still working things out, I think, and I think Dallas has a venue though, right?
That sounds right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Um,
hopefully Dallas does because there's his first.
yeah, Allen Event Center in North Texas is where the Fuel's going to be hosting theirs. Atlanta Rain doesn't have a venue yet, and then Microsoft at the Novo, by Microsoft at LA Live, um, is where the Valiant's going to be playing, and we knew that for about like a year now. I feel like they announced it before, like almost before the Overwatch League Season 1, that the Valiant would be playing there when home matches would start to be played. So we got three homestand weekends, is what they're calling them.
Or that's I think they actually have different names. So that's the Atlanta. It's the Atlanta homestand, and then it's like Dallas Ultimate Weekend, and I forget what the LA Valiant one is, but
Yeah, I forget that too.
and
They
it's
all have
interesting because
different
I've
titles.
seen other. I think like the Atlanta Twitter has referred to it as the Homestead Weekend, but definitely all the OWL promotional materials have said Homestand, so I
Yeah,
have no idea what that means. But
uh, Homestead is like, that sounds like an old western movie.
uh,
But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Homestand. But yeah, they probably have the option to name it whatever they would like. Dallas named it the Ultimate Weekend, and it still is probably the default for Atlanta and LA right now, because it does both say just Los Angeles Valiant homestand and Atlanta Rain homestand on their website, the Overwatch League website.
there you go.
So basically, the details on those are the first one's April 27th and 28th. That's stage two. And basically, 8 teams are going to each one of these. And you get 2 days of Overwatch League action, just like a normal 2 days in LA or anywhere else, except there's only 8 teams involved. So only 8 teams are going to be traveling. The other 12 will just all have bye weeks that week and not play. I think everybody travels. I haven't double checked that in a while, but when I first checked it, I believe that everybody has at least one travel weekend, if you even consider the LA one traveling.
Yeah, I think they do. Not everybody goes to every location, but yeah, I think everybody goes at least to one place.
Yeah, I think that is what they set it up for. And we got, I mean, you gotta give them props, because they made sure that the right teams are going to the right places. Houston going to Dallas, and San Francisco Shock and the Gladiators, the Valiant's rivals going to LA Live, all this stuff. They've truly scheduled these to be super hype. What do you think about these homestand weekends? A good start to the home and away system they want to do next year?
Definitely, yeah, and I think partly trying to get in at this small scale, I think is good. I don't know if many people, certainly I didn't think about it that they could start it up this way. But yeah, to have 8 teams or 10 teams or whatever it is, um, coming into each weekend, do 2 days of matches, and sort of low scale in that way, but to test all of these kinds of logistics that I'm sure they're going to have to run through, like this Dallas weekend especially. If they can pull it off cleanly, it's big props to them. But I think even being prepared for little mistakes here and there, I think might not be uh, bad to think about. But yeah, taking this small scale approach to like sort of a warm up, right, for season three, uh, making sure they know exactly all the things that go into it, and giving these teams experience now in hosting, I think is going to be valuable.
Oh yeah, and I'm not sure. We'll find out what happens with the production team in the season three. How I mean, it's going to be a lot to juggle if they're traveling all over the place, and I bet they're just going to be traveling to maybe just the biggest games. And I feel like it depends because normal sports, traditional sports works. How they work is basically each city has their own small production team. In their like because they're all most cities have like a local Fox Sports channel or a local sports channel in general that's owned maybe not by Fox by another company that basically the MLB and all these and NBA give those guys rights to broadcast those games because the MLB can't have every single game in like broadcasted live in prime time on national television. But it's going to be Twitch and it's going to be different. So I'm wondering, like, next year, maybe Boston Uprising streams from the Boston Uprising Twitch when they have games or something like that. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. I'm just making guesses out there. This could be completely different, and it probably should be. Probably should be different from sports. But we'll find out. This is just speculation for a very long time ahead. So, besides that, we got some prize pool stuff. So the prize pool is 5 million up from 3.5 million in season 1. Stage playoffs prize pool. So in the stage playoffs, the winner will get 200K. The runner-up will get 100K. Third and fourth will get 50K, and then fifth through eighth get 25K. So you're guaranteed money if you make those stage playoffs. 1 through 8 make stage playoffs, and it's only stage 1, 2, and 3. In the season playoffs, the champion will get $1.1 million. Runner-up will get 600K. Third place gets 450. Fourth place gets 350. Fifth and sixth gets 300, and seventh and eighth get 200K. So we got a new prize pool. Do you know how much the champion got last year? I feel like it was $1 million.
Yeah, that's what I want to say too.
So barely a raise of the champion. Most of that, the prize pool is going up because they now are rewarding like more people.
Awards are getting larger, yeah. Exactly. Or the number of awards.
Yeah, number of people who get rewarded has been going up. So if you make playoffs, then you are getting rewarded. I'm fine with that. What else? Map pool. So we got a 12 map pool. Me and Joe talked about this a little bit when it was announced and our thoughts on it. We got 12 maps up from, what was it, 9 maps, I guess?
9, yeah.
Because of the tiebreaker map. And now the tiebreaker, instead of being a set map, it's going to be one of the 2 control maps that were not already played in a series. So one of the things people really wanted changed was the tiebreaker map no longer being controlled, because a lot of people feel like control isn't real Overwatch. They didn't do that. They didn't change that. So now we got 12 maps. What are your thoughts on the 12 maps, Joe?
I think it's good. We've got some of the newer maps in there too. Busan, Rialto, we'll be able to see in Owl Stage 1, which was Rialto in like the finals pool? Have we seen that at all in Owl?
No.
Yeah,
I think World Cup's the first time I saw Rialto, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. That's its debut, even though it's pretty old map, by now. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I think so. Notably, this 12 map pool that's going to make it more interesting for the spectators for sure. But I'm almost positive that the players and coaches hate it. To add more maps again to this pool is going to go by stage. So these 12 maps that we know right now are just for stage 1, but granted, each match will have like the preset maps, so that it's not completely random like the World Cup, which was essentially random, draw the map out of a hat and your opponent doesn't know your pick before the time. But yeah, to have still a really large map pool relatively, I mean, this is more than half, I think, of the maps in the game, is going to be difficult, or more difficult, for teams to prepare, certainly.
Yeah, that was my one complaint as a spectator, and I believe many spectators were annoyed by how often maps were played, and they would just come up constantly. We've got some more variety now as a spectator. But I think we're gonna get some less strategy and just not as good, just not some good play in general, because it's going to be harder to practice for this amount of maps in one stage. Um, I think they can make it. They can make it okay if they schedule the maps nicely for these teams. And of course, always having like knowing what map you're going to be playing ahead of time is fantastic. Don't take that away. Um, but hopefully, I mean, teams are only getting better. Maybe they will. Maybe we'll still see some high level strategies on all these maps, despite how many maps they need to practice. Maybe we'll get some set plays still. Maybe teams build up their coaching staff some more, so that more coaches can focus on weeks ahead and strategizing for weeks ahead and maps that they haven't played yet. That would be nice too. So we'll see how this works out. I think so far I've seen the players and coaches complain about it. You're right about that. But I think the viewers are gonna love it and I'm gonna love just not seeing Twitch chat complain about every map that's about to happen. But it probably will still happen. Especially when Horizon is played, everyone's gonna be like, oh. But yeah, 12 maps, a new format. That's pretty nice. But as far as ticketing goes, so I went to 1 week last year in Los Angeles. They had signings after every day. Now you team signings. So it says team signings will be featured once during the season for a post-match team signing. So every team's going to be featured at least once. The system they were doing last year was like whoever won the second game of the day of 3 would be the signers. Team signings are free to all fans in attendance. And team signings are noted on the ticketing pages. When you buy the ticket, it'll note which team is signing that day. So yeah, we've got team signs a little bit more. It's guaranteed that each team's going to sign. If you want to go a day just to get signatures from your favorite team, you can now do that. Season pass. So this is the thing me and Joe were doing math on earlier. Because I went through the season pass just to see how much it cost. It cost $1,392,
including all the fees.
That includes the fees. It costs $1,200 without fees. And Joe immediately was like, "Holy cow, that's insane!" It's a lot of money, and I was sitting there like, "That's not only a lot of money." But you have to, you are going to feel obligated to go to, I did the math, it's 66 days in Blizzard Arena, Los Angeles. You are going to have access 66 days, and those days are long. Four games now. The 3 game days were pretty long, and now you have 4 games a day. And you're going to feel obligated to go to all of those, and you've bought all of those. Like Joe was saying, that's a part-time job basically, right?
Yeah, or close to a full-time job. Yeah, it's 32 hours a week, something like that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And I did the math, and if you were to buy each ticket individually versus the season pass, there's no discount on the season pass. It costs basically the same to just buy each ticket individually versus the season pass. So if you're going to go to every game, man, how is my question first of all. But
you'd have to live right next to the arena or something.
Yeah, but you do get some nice perks actually.
It's true. Make it worth it overall, definitely.
Yeah, my math didn't include stage playoffs or finals. So in season pass, the season pass is going to be discounted if you include the stage finals and the stage playoffs. Tickets to the All-Star game I didn't include in my math. You get to be early access in Blizzard Arena, so 10 minutes before doors open, you basically get front row because I doubt there's going to be too many of these season pass holders. You get a backstage tour. You get a Soldier 76 statue signed by your favorite team, priority for all team signings, and early access to purchase grand finals tickets.
And a T-shirt, apparently, according to this ticket site. And it says you have to be age 6 or over.
Oh, shoot.
So all of you who are planning to buy a season pass for your 5-year-old, too bad.
I really wanted to get one for my 3-year-old cousin. That stinks.
Nah. I wonder if it's like the statue or something that like
They're like, that's too heavy.
Or just on the box, it says ages 6 and up. Like, oh, well, the whole thing has to be
6 and under. You can't. Sorry, that's hilarious. What other? You got other options too. Pick 6. Fans can customize a 6-game package featuring their favorite team. The Pick 6 package automatically includes the team signing date of their favorite team. I went through this Pick 6. It's basically the same as just buying 6 tickets. Yeah, nothing more, nothing less than that, except you are forced to buy the day that your team is going to be signing. So,
which makes sense.
Yeah. So that's the only difference. Pick 6, not too much of a discount at all. You don't get too many perks, but it's a better option for people who don't want to go to a whooping 66 days throughout the year. That's 2 months. 2 months wasted in the Blizzard Arena. Friends and Family Fridays is another nice little package. On 8 Fridays throughout the 2019 season, we're offering the Friends and Family package for just $88. This group ticket offer includes 4 tickets, 4 drinks, and 2 orders of nachos. That reminds me of baseball. That really reminds me of baseball. Because there are so many packages in baseball that's like, oh, you get like a 4 tickets, 4 drinks, and 2 hot dogs with this much, which is interesting that Overwatch is now embracing that, especially with how crappy their food is. No one's like, oh, I gotta go to the old arena and get some nachos. Like they got the best. Everyone's like, I gotta get to the ballpark and get a hot dog. Like there's a big difference. But what do you think about Friends and Family Fridays, Joe? More family friendly?
I mean, if you're gonna take yourself and 3 people to an Overwatch League Friday, spend 8 hours there and watch some matches, I mean, that's it's pretty solid. I mean, it's what, $22 a person with the food, so sure, whatever.
Yeah, I think I might just do that because my family's gonna come and visit me in LA. Might just use that package. Might use a Friends and Family Friday when they come and visit, just to, because I definitely want to take them to an Overwatch League game when they come. They've never been, so
yeah, there you go.
Show them what I do, And then the last thing is Pride Day. In conjunction with LA Pride Day 2019, the Overwatch League will celebrate our LGBTQ fan base, which is great. That is Sunday, June 9th, is the LA Pride Parade. So I'm guessing, well, do they have games on Sunday? They do. They have games on Sunday this year. So guessing Sunday, June 9th is when they're going to be doing that. Joe, what would you, if you were purchasing one of these bundles, what would you go for?
I mean, it probably wouldn't be the season pass. Like we said, I think even if I lived there, that might be a little bit much. But I do like the Pick 6 though. I mean, because you can, get in, a little bit in each stage maybe, plus the signing. It just makes sense, and that's probably maybe about the number of games or the number of days that I would actually go anyway. So
yeah,
and of course I actually won't be going really at all because it's in California. But you'll have that.
Where's your Midwest team? You need a Midwest team. Atlanta's actually pretty far from Indy.
Yeah, I think the closest is DC.
Yeah,
from here.
That's true. It's like DC. Yeah. But they're all pretty far. DC, Toronto, and Atlanta are like the closest 3, I feel like.
And Philly, I think. But yeah.
I'm from Detroit, and Toronto's definitely the closest. to there. So I
Yeah.
guess I have to be a Toronto fan.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't even know if I did the pick. I would probably do the pick six as well. I don't even know what team I would pick. I don't know if I'm a Outlaws fan this year. I think I'm a Gladiators fan. Like I don't know which ones I would pick at this point, so I'm not gonna buy them yet. But yeah, I think six is about the amount that I'm gonna go. So I think that's a good option. Season pass is pretty tempting just for like a nice backstage tour. Like that'd be cool. You get tickets to all three stage finals, the All Star event. Like that's kind of tempting, but in the end, I know I'm not going to go to every single. I don't even have time to do that, so it's just not worth it. Um, so that I mean, that's basically all the that's all the details. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. No. Oh, I mean they'll have some matches on Disney XD and ESPN
Yes.
three probably, but
Yeah. That doesn't pertain to me too much, but
yeah,
yes.
if you want to see the details of that, that's on their website.
Yeah.
So,
If
and
you
they're
are
same
a
with MLG also.
Oh yes, I don't think they are not going to go away from MLG because that is Blizzard's platform basically.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean that's it for the details of the schedule. Um, Later I'm going to get into my favorite matches. I think we also there's something I want to point out about the schedule in general, and I want to know your thoughts on it because Shanghai Dragons tweeted out their individual schedule, and I was just shocked to see some things on here, and it's very interesting to me because last year in each stage, no team played each other twice. You would basically play almost every other team at least once. No team if you played another team twice, it would be in stage playoffs. That's not that's not what Overwatch League is going with whatsoever this year. If you don't know, if you are in the Atlantic, you play every other Atlantic team twice, and you play every Pacific team once. So you're playing everybody in the league. But the Dragons, they're in the Pacific. They play a bunch of Pacific teams twice. Not only do they play them twice, but sometimes most of the time they play them in the same stage. In stage one they play the Dallas Fuel in back-to-back weeks. Not only back-to-back weeks, but back-to-back games. In week 3 they play the Dallas Fuel to finish off their week, and then their first game of week 4, Dallas Fuel again. Then in stage three they have 7 games, but they only play five. Wait, one, two, three, four, 5 teams, because they play the LA Valiant twice, and they play the Guangzhou Charge twice. They play the LA Valiant. That one's separate, at least. It is still back-to-back weeks, though. And then Guangzhou Charge is back-to-back weeks and back-to-back once again. And then in stage 4, they play Seoul Dynasty twice. That one's a little bit more spread. So I wanted to know your thoughts on this. I think it's very interesting because in other sports, I think people are more fine with this. But this is Overwatch, where Shanghai Dragons could get very lucky because maybe they play the LA Valiant in stage 3 when that's on the patch that the LA Valiant is very bad, and they got to play LA Valiant twice that stage. That's why this is kind of interesting to me. Some people might luck out with their schedules just because they play teams in a stage that they're on a weaker patch. What do you think about this?
That's true. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about it in the context of patches, but yeah, just even for just the mental and um, the preparations that you go in for the match. I mean, for example, this Dallas doubleheader, the Guangzhou doubleheader. If that first match is super one-sided one way or the other, to then have to go from the first match into the second and try to stay calm and stay neutral. I feel like that'd be pretty difficult. Yeah, you're right. The patches, like you said, I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, imagine having to play Dallas Fuel twice, stage 4 of of season one, that would have been really difficult. Or do that it's more so than any other team would have had to experience that. Um, but yeah, so yeah, no, it's weird because yeah, you would have thought for sure that they would try to have spread it out a little bit more. I mean, Shanghai plays Seoul twice in stage four. It's the same deal that yeah, I don't know. Um, if because certainly it wasn't intentional to put to put these matches back to back. I wouldn't think, but whether it could have been intentionally corrected or not, I don't know. But yeah, it is sort of odd.
Yeah, I think with the schedule they went more with focus. I think they focused more on we need this match to be here because of this hype. We need this match to be here because of this storyline more than we
And
need
East
we
and West time zones too. Yeah.
yeah. And all that stuff. Definitely think East and West time zones in general, is what their first focus should be. Um, no doubt, because I really would love if European and Asian fans could could be able to watch this and stay interested in it, because they want it to be a global league, and we've got tons of teams that aren't in North America. So I think that should be their first priority. Whether or not their second priority should be storylines versus something like this, where or just making sure that each stage is sort of even. I will find out at the end of the season if this works, but I think it's interesting. I think it's also interesting. I think it wouldn't matter that much if there wasn't money on the line in stage playoffs. Like, if there was no such thing as stage playoffs, I think this wouldn't be as big of a deal. But I think it is a pretty big deal, because you don't play. This is different. Like, you don't. There was, like, last year, there was a minor. Like, you would miss out on one team. Like, if a team missed out on Shanghai Dragons last year, it'd be like, oh well, you got a harder schedule. You didn't get to play Shanghai this stage, or something like that. But it wouldn't make a difference. That was one game. Now it's gonna be like, oh, the Chengdu Hunters are in the stage playoffs, but only because they had like the easiest schedule this stage. Like, they played the 7 teams they played were terrible, and it's like you have money on the line, and some of these teams are going to have easier schedule than other teams, especially when Shanghai only plays 5 different teams in stage 3. I don't think those teams. I mean, LA Valiant's going to be good, and they face Gladiators and Fusion, so I think they're going to have a harder schedule. But it's going to be interesting how many excuses are going to be thrown out now, and how much it might just stink that maybe you landed a harder schedule and now you could have been 8th, or like maybe you were better than the Chengdu Hunters, but they had an easier schedule, but they got 8th, you got 9th, and that just stinks. Um, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. But I'd be interested to see. I haven't looked super carefully at other teams. If it's Shanghai that runs into that, or if there are other teams that have similar issues. I imagine there probably is,
There are.
just statistically, but yeah, I don't know. It's another iteration, right, on some of the scheduling stuff people were talking about season one. They fixed some issues, that playing fewer matches and all that, but definitely now there are other ones that have arisen. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I don't think it should be. I personally have never been a big fan of stage playoffs finals. I think I mentioned this in our like formatting thing, but they want it to happen. I think it's good for. I think it really keeps the teams that don't have a chance to make playoffs. It really keeps those teams in it at the end of the stage, at like stage 3, stage 4, but it's completely removed from stage 4 now. So the one thing I like about it is just gone now. And I guess I enjoy like seeing a championship every stage or something like that, but I feel like it also muddles the I think it really muddles up the actual championship. And I think a lot less people were paying attention to the actual championship because of how many different people were rewarded throughout the season for being the stage champion. And I wonder how many like casual viewers thought the Stage 4 championship was like the championship. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of stage playoffs and championships. I know there are tons of people that are. The one thing I was a fan of is now gone. Like stage four playoffs don't exist anymore. It's a wild card tournament now. So there's barely any point in the 15 through 20 seeds competing in stage 4 anymore, which stinks. And now there's the scheduling issue with all of it. So some teams are definitely going to have harder schedules in stages than others. We'll see what happens. It's probably not as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on it or the schedule in general?
Yeah, I don't know. It would be. I think part of this will definitely be interesting to see how the casters in production tries to spin some of these things. You know, because again, trying to tell stories throughout the season and all that. But yeah, trying to make these connections in a different context. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it definitely will. And it definitely adds some more analysis to things. I gotta give him credit on that one. As a person who likes to analyze things, I can come in and say, well, the Hangzhou Spark they're 0-6, they're 1-6 this stage, but they were playing this team and this team and this team, and that's a very tough schedule. I think they're actually a good team and all this stuff. So, what happens. And I can't complain because the overall schedule is great. I'm just complaining about individual stage schedules at this point. The overall schedule, great. Playing 2 in conference, 1 out of conference against every team. You get to play every team at least once, which is great. In the NFL, you don't even get to play every team once, which is still crazy to me. But it makes sense for how rough of a game it is. Let's move on to season 3, Joe. Forget season 2. Let's move on to 2020.
we're just gonna skip ahead. It's
someone on the Overwatch League subreddit, not the competitive Overwatch subreddit. I'm beginning to like
League, I think.
Yeah, I'm beginning to like the Overwatch League subreddit a lot more than competitive Overwatch lately. But yeah, someone was nice enough. He or she was in the season focus group for the Boston Uprising. The Craft Analytics group hosted 2 separate focus groups just to talk about the 2020 Owl season, mainly because that's going to be where all these teams are expected to host home games. So I'll just go down the list of the bullet points they reached here, and me and Joe will talk about what we think. Teams are expected to host 14 home games in the 2020 season.
They expect to host. I don't know if.
Yes, that's not final.
Yeah, because I don't know if that's something that they've heard from Blizzard or just doing math. Who knows?
Yeah, they possibly are just doing math. 28 games, 14 of them are home. That makes sense. So who knows? We might be getting some more expansion teams, which means more games, all this different stuff. We don't know what's happening. Teams will only host their home games. So a team isn't hosting an entire Days Owl competition like the homestands. It's just going to be like traditional sports, like New York comes to Boston, and they play one game there. There aren't any other games. On the issue of scheduling, one of the options asked about was whether they wanted to attend a doubleheader, back-to-back days, or alternating days. It's interesting to think they may use back-to-backs as a way of drawing fans to home games. Joe, what do you think the best option there? I think a doubleheader is playing maybe the same. Usually in baseball, it's playing the same team twice on the same day. I don't know if that's allowed to happen because I don't think you could have 2 home games against the same team. Um, maybe playing against one team and then the other team on the same day, and then the other option is playing against one team and then playing against another team back to back days, and you buy a ticket and you get both of those days, or alternating days, which I'm guessing is not back to back, but rather like Friday Sunday game. What do you think of those three options?
Yeah, I think uh, again, it just depends a lot on, the structure that they're looking at next season. But I think definitely the more they can condense the home games together to lead to less travel for the teams involved, I think that's definitely going to be better. Um, because the more time they're spending on planes and the more money they're spending on planes, the less practice, the less de-stressing the teams can get in. Uh, so I think definitely their argument will be that yeah, they want it as condensed as possible, and so because of that, these types of these types of venue weekends I think are valuable, whether or not that happens in season three or not. But yeah, to keep the matches, together on consecutive days or on related time, I think the more they can do that is definitely the better. And from a spectator's perspective too.
Yeah, I think the main issue they have with this is, as someone who's going to be sitting at, like, if you're someone sitting at home Friday, you're still going to basically be getting the same Overwatch League schedule, I believe, where you just watch 4 games. But if you're a fan going out to the game, I think the argument here is no one's going to want to pay for like just a short Overwatch match between Boston and New York, and that's it. You just get the one match. Like, they would either have to make it cheaper because it's short. It's short, it's sweet. It's like an hour and a half. So it's not too worthy. I get the shortest sporting events are like 2 hours, so maybe they make the games longer. Maybe they do something like that. Who knows what I don't know what they're drawing up at all, but I'm not. I'm more of a fan of something like back-to-back days than I am a doubleheader.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. We talked about uh, London Stage One finals playing double headers. Yeah, it gets
That's a
brutal,
big,
definitely.
yeah, big complaint from the players. Fans might like doubleheaders, but I don't think players are going to like doubleheaders. So don't think that's going to be an option. Teams still don't know how to arrange their home games. One big topic was whether or not we wanted an arena type configuration or theater type configuration. There are pros and cons to both, but it's interesting that teams aren't decided. Um, what do you think as a spectator? I don't think you've been to an event, but as someone who watches from home, which one looks better on screen? A theater, like the Overwatch League weekly setup, or like a World Cup setup, like a big stage, or like the finals.
I think if as they're moving towards more and more uh, information being communicated to the spectators. I mean, we talked about World Cup group stages for sure. I don't know how it was exactly at the BlizzCon finals, but that they didn't have actually very much for the spectators to watch, other than some screens sitting in the front. But if you think about this owl setup, that they had with the super fancy LEDs, and they had all the maps, uh, brought up in the control point graphic on the ceiling and all that. That I think the more they want to communicate that, number one, the better, and number two, the easier that will be to do in this type of theater sort of setup. That you're all facing the same direction, and there's screens to look at and that sort of thing, rather than the circle thing. Like the BlizzCon arena, which is cool for the spectacle of it, to have all the World Cup teams in there. See, it reminds you of the Olympics or something. That when they're all there at the beginning of it, they're all standing in the circle and they've got the flags draped over them or whatever. But uh, in terms of like actually watching and following a competitive Overwatch match to get that kind of high detail focus, and then I think it's a bit better to keep going the way they're going uh, in the Blizzard Arena.
Yeah, I'm more of a fan of I think the theater type has really benefited esports more than the arena type. I think it's really cool when you get that big game in that arena, and I think it's really cool leading up to it. It's like, oh, they're going to play in like the Staples Center or something, or even with the Owl Finals in Brooklyn and stuff like that. It's really cool spectacle, but overall, like, it's always been a better viewing experience in the theater. It feels like, especially in that. Honestly, the Blizzard Arena is just one of the best. I think it is the best esports setup. You have all that information, those huge LED panels. I mean, it's just fantastic to watch as a spectator. So yeah, hopefully they go with theaters, and I definitely think theaters fit the size of the Overwatch League fandom right now. Like, it's not big enough to fill arenas every like week right now, especially in markets like Boston and markets like DC and markets outside of LA. Because LA, most people know what esports is because that's where esports is right now in America. So everywhere else, the market's not big enough yet to do an arena, I think. So the rest of the stuff, just some normal stuff, trying to enhance the home game experience, season ticket passes, stuff like that about seating. And then the last thing, they had a pre-made list of 4 spots for the location of where they want home games to be played. And they wanted them to rank it, and the spots were downtown Boston, the North End, Cambridge, and Somerville. I've been to Boston many times. All 4 of those spots are pretty good. The North End's interesting to me because that's like, I just wonder where they would play at the North End. But yeah, those they didn't mention, and they apparently mentioned. Apparently, everyone else was mentioning Foxborough, but they were barely mentioning it back. I doubt they'll play in Foxborough. That's an outdoors stadium, outdoors football stadium. There have been outdoor esports events, but not too many. And I don't think hosting one every week would be too great. So I don't think that's on their list. Clearly, they haven't talked about that quite yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is some cool information. Very vague. We don't know too much. But cool that Boston's starting to think about it. PTR 1.32. I think this is mostly bug fixes, right? I didn't see any balance changes. Did you? Are there?
Yeah, which I thought was notable. But yeah, no, there weren't any balance changes, at least so far in this PTR patch.
Yeah. New owl skins came in. That's probably the biggest part of this patch. Did you any skin in particular that you just love, Joe?
Yes, so we out of the season 1 skins that exist already, I think we talked about how well, I don't know if we talked about it, but I've always thought that the soul skins are really cool,
Yeah.
with the black and gold, especially the one that comes to mind is like the Soul Dynasty Reinhardt skin, and I think looking that out of these new skins that are coming out, definitely Toronto I think is the most similar to that because again with black in the primary color but just red highlights all around. It's super cool. Like so the Toronto Reinhardt is really cool. Obviously, we've got all the pink and blue skins now. I saw a Reddit post talking about that. Oh, the Atlanta home skins and the Atlanta away skins and the Toronto away skin look too similar. And someone else pointed out, well, we're never going to see them both in the same game, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's. But and I talked about when we previewed the Guangzhou Charge branding, that I said that I think I like the colors based on the 2 skins that they had. I think it was like Ana and Hanzo or something. But I needed to see more And sure enough, yeah. So looking at more of these charge skins, I'm really liking the blues that they've got.
Yeah.
Uh, and also the rest of the Chengdu Hunters skins are also like yellow and gold instead of orange and gold. We talked about, maybe that was just a weird graphical thing, but no, it's like the skins are very much yellow rather than orange, which is interesting.
Yeah. Just another reason I'm confused by their branding. Um, yeah, it's so interesting to me that their skins are like yellow. Um, because I definitely would have liked the yellow, black, and gold more than orange. So, I mean, I'm glad something has it at least, I guess. But yeah, all the skins are super cool. I'm glad we get to see them already. The away skin thing, people are way too bothered about that for no reason, in my opinion. I feel like there's got to be another two teams that away skins look similar. Like the away skins are basically just white, and the other like all white, and then like one other color. So they all have to be very similar. Um, but yeah, I guess people who like buy an Atlanta or Toronto skin are going to be upset about that. Maybe that's like the only place I can see that validated.
Yeah. Or like if you have both.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that patch. I'm gonna go over quickly.
And some bug fixes, sorry.
Oh yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
when Ash was released and everybody was complaining about her scoped FPS locked to 60, supposedly that's fixed now. I haven't tried it and I never get higher than like 30 FPS, so I couldn't test it if I wanted to. But supposedly that's fixed now. And now this is the second patch that's come out that claims to have fixed the Reinhardt and Brig shield bugs when you drop your shield and you spin around. Hopefully it actually is fixed now. But I distinctly remembered 3 or 4 patches ago that they said they fixed it again. But who knows? And a few other miscellaneous bugs, but those are the main ones.
Very, very interesting. Hopefully those bugs are fixed this time. But always nice to have just a nice little bug fixing patch. But yeah, now we're gonna get into some topics. I'm gonna talk about my top match of every single stage on this schedule. Yeah, they're mostly going to be. I think they're all Atlantic versus Pacific, because Atlantic and Pacific only play each other once in a season. So this is going to be our only opportunity to see this match in the entire season. So I felt like it was almost necessary that the top match be that, basically. So stage one, my choice of top match, it's close. It is a close one. Almost all of my ones that were up there included the LA Valiant. But I'm going to go with London Spitfire versus Los Angeles Gladiators. This is the only time they are facing off each other. They had a big rivalry last year, of course, with the Fissure thing. I still think the rivalry is more than alive, despite Fissure not being involved in either of these teams at this point. I still think the rivalry is very much alive, especially after that playoff game last year where London Spitfire came back and beat the Gladiators to move on and eventually win the championship, of course. So I think that rivalry carries on, and I think these are two very good teams, and this is the only time you're going to see them play the entire season. That is Stage 1, Week 3, Friday, March 1st. It is the first game of that day. It's going to be an exciting one. Stage 2. Let me scroll on over to what I have chosen here. Yes, there's no more obvious choice in this stage. Can you guess which one I'm going to choose, Joe?
Briefly scanning here. Not off the top of my head.
It's the Dallas Fuel Houston Outlaws, the Texas rivalry.
Oh, no.
The only
Nice.
time we get to see it this season. I mean, this rivalry
In Dallas.
in Dallas.
I just realized, yeah. Oy, that's rough.
In Dallas. Like, brava schedulers. you couldn't have done better. Of course you gotta have Houston versus Dallas in Dallas. I'm so excited for this one as a Houston Outlaws fan, possibly still Outlaws fan this season. Hopefully, I like the players on their team. Hopefully, they're still good, and hopefully this match will be good. That is definitely my match of stage two, unless they're both terrible, and then it just sucks. But either way, they are. I mean, even when they both didn't make playoffs last season, and their matches were still pretty hype.
It's true. The London Philly rematch is also in stage two, so that can be your
Yes.
or the second, I should say, the second London Philly rematch. So
Yes.
if the Texas one is lame, then you can change your answer.
Yes. Philly has a very hard stage too. They faced New York twice and London.
Yeah.
That might be that might be the stage they don't make stage playoffs. That's a tough one. That's a tough schedule. Stage three. Who do I have? I mean, I would be a sucker to include Outlaws again, wouldn't I? But this is another Outlaws game where they're facing the Shock the one time they do in the season. And this is the Shock's pretty good, and they dropped Dante, and now you got that rivalry right there. If the Outlaws are good this season, I do believe that's going to be the game of stage three. But I guess I'll give you guys one if they're not going to be good, and that'll be London Spitfire versus the LA Valiant. Two great teams. This is the one time they're playing. That's stage three, week 4. The Outlaws one is stage 3, week 2. The weekend in Atlanta, it could possibly be good, but this weekend includes so many teams with question marks above them. Washington Justice Charge. We got 4 new expansion teams, but you got Atlanta Reign versus Florida Mayhem, the McDonald's versus DeFran again. So those are some matchups in stage 3. Stage 4, the final stage, includes I finally get to put an expansion team in one of my favorite matches of the stage. And that is the Paris Eternal versus the Los Angeles Valiant because of soon moving over to Paris. This is going to be the one and only time these two teams play. So this is deep into the schedule. July 27th is the first time we get to see soon go up against his old teammates. So that's going to be an interesting one. Any matches you want to point out, Joe?
I hadn't prepared for this.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot.
It's some of the matches we've been highlighting here over the last few weeks. In our team previews, also, things like Vancouver, Shanghai. When that's gonna happen twice. So stuff like that. The battle for LA once that happens, but just in general, it's gonna be week by week. I think there's always gonna be something to look at, even if you're not gonna watch for 8 hours a day. Which, as much as I tried to going into season 1, but it didn't work out so well. But it's definitely gonna be stuff.
Yeah. Just going through the schedule, this segment was originally I'm going to point out a good game every single week, and Joe was like, "That's a bit too much," and I was like, "You're right."
We'll get to it all eventually. That's what it was for. So.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so far there has at least been one really good game, and we don't even know how good the expansion teams are yet. Like, most of mine didn't include expansion teams because I don't know how good they're going to be. And I'm only basing it off storylines like Paris is the full European team. Vancouver used to be Runaway and all this stuff. Like, Washington Justice, I don't know anything about how good they're going to be or their team. Same with Chengdu and all these other teams that are big question marks, right? So there's at least one good matchup related to season 1 storylines and season 1 teams in every week, and then we're gonna know more about the expansion teams. And it's super cool because we only get games like either twice or once a year now, and things like the LA rivalry aren't going to be happening what seems like every other week, which makes it more special. the Gladiators only have a chance to beat Valiant twice a year, and one of them is the very last week in the LA Valiant's home stage, LA Live. I got to tell you what, they really, besides the Atlanta one, because it's going to be hard to schedule like an expansion team's homestand, but Dallas and the LA homestands, they scheduled super well, in my opinion. They have LA facing Shock and the Gladiators. They're basically their two rivals. You got to give props to these guys. Anything else about the schedule before we move on to previewing our two teams this week?
I don't think so. I mean, other than, just the way the numbers work out, occasionally we'll get some light days too that do have only 3 matches. I don't know. They don't appear to have a specific pattern to them. It's just, the way that some of them have worked out. But
yeah, some of them are. So, like, some of the weeks only have 2 days, and those are most of the homestands, or those are the homestands. And then some of them only have 3 games, and I mean, it's like they promised. You either play 2 times a week, 1 time a week, or 0. And that's just how the schedule happened to work out. And it seems like every single time it's like towards the end of the stage, they start to slow things down. Like, okay, there's only 2 days we play this week, and okay, or the other option is, okay, we're playing less games this week. Thursday and Friday are only going to have 3 games instead of 4. It seems like that always happens towards the end of the stage because they really want to slow that fatigue down, kind of. But let's preview our next 2 teams.
Let's do it.
So far, who have we previewed so far? We previewed the Outlaws, the Shanghai Dragons, the Vancouver Titans, and who's the other team? London?
London.
So if you want to see our preview on those 4 teams, go listen to the previous 2 episodes. But today we are bringing it back. Every week we preview 2 teams, one from the Atlantic, one from the Pacific, and this week we're going with another expansion team. Much like last week we did Vancouver, this week our expansion team is in the Atlantic, the Atlanta Reign. So with our previews, we go through each, we give them an off-season grade, some standout players, some anticipated matchups, and then we tell you if they're going to do better or worse in Season 1. With the expansion teams, we just predict sort of what place they're going to get. Because obviously they're all going to do better than Season 1 because they actually exist now. Joe, Atlanta Reign, do you want to go into their off-season? Because, of course, they didn't have any changes, but they added a bunch of players because they're a new team. What do you think of their team?
It's true, yeah. Looking at Atlanta, we've got 8 players total, including 1 two-way with Atlanta Academy in Gator. But yeah, it's it's obviously pulled from EU contenders, also Erster from China, a couple Korean, pretty multicultural contenders roster coming in here for Atlanta. Obviously, the biggest name here is Dafran, obviously. Everybody trying to see exactly how things are going on. But yeah, as far as their offseason goes, I think they were pretty deliberate about their roster. That it wasn't all spread out over time. We got the one announcement video, and that was it. That was that's the team we're looking at now. So to grade their off season, I mean, the one big thing we got to consider there is that Dafran versus McDonald's, that whole thing about slight meltdown he had a little bit, but whether that was handled internally or not, we don't really know exactly what happened in that story, but it's happened now, and so we've got a team. It's a little bit hard to say whether they're going to land, but I think they're definitely been very intentional about it. So yeah, I don't know. I give them B plus maybe. I think uh,
Yeah.
that's probably fair.
I think their team has a lot of questions. A lot of questions. They're one of the only teams to just grab from every region. NA contenders, EU contenders, like you were saying, Korean contenders, Chinese contenders. That's just a crazy mishmash. I haven't seen a mishmash like this since the Philadelphia Fusion,
Philadelphia Fusion. Yeah.
which is crazy because they made the championship, and I don't think anyone expected them to. I think everyone predicted them low. I think Atlanta Reign could be a sleeper team. I like their individual talent a lot. I like Popco. How do you say his name? Popco.
Yeah, I don't know.
Basically Poco, but with a P added. So once again, just exactly like the Philadelphia Fusion. Um,
That's the strat. That's the strat.
and then the DPS line, I have a little bit more questions towards that. I really like their tanks. I have questions about their DPS, whether or not they play DeFran or not. I think he's going to be on the bench first, possibly. They got Erster and Nalir, maybe that's how you pronounce it. He's from last night's Leftovers, which is now Atlanta Reign's Academy team. Fun fact. Then you got Kodak and Masa. I mean, these are all there. No one's. I don't think anyone. Only Daco and Popko are from Element Mystic together on the same team. So all these players are from different teams. They went that route. They decided to get individual talent, which only leads me to think that they possibly could be off to a bumpy start. This is exactly what I said about the Fusion last year, and then they did not get off to a bumpy start at all.
It's true. It's true.
Um, I don't know. I'll go with a B as well, just because they had. I'm not sure how good their roster is. I don't think it's that good in comparison to everyone else, but I'm just gonna give them a B for how much they decided to go out of their way to just bring this mishmash together. It's so easy to just say, sign all the players from this team. But they actually put research into this and decided, I want this player from this team. I want this player from this team. Like, these are the specific players that I think are good enough to be on our team. So I already got to give them credit for that. I'll give them a B.
Cool.
What's the next thing? Standout players. Who do you think's going to be Atlanta's MVP se?
The obvious answer of just players to watch again is DeFran. So I'm not going to say DeFran.
You already did.
Yeah, no. But instead, I think for me, it's got to be either Gator or Kodak. I think you'll remember Kodak from, I want to say, what, Team Germany in the World Cup? I think. Or did Germany even play the World Cup? I don't even know.
Germany was not in the top
Okay.
8, but
It's one of the EU teams in the World Cup. You'll remember him from, playing a Rugged Zenyatta, but then also Gator, already playing on Atlanta Academy and really making a name for himself there. Yeah, those are going to be, I think, the two I'd highlight here for Atlanta.
yeah, I'd also like to highlight Gator. He's a good player. Am I going to highlight DeFran? Am I going to do it? Am I going to say he's the MVP of this team? I'm not going to... I'll do it. DeFran, MVP. God.
Yeah, it was Team Germany. It was Team Germany.
Okay. Yeah, they weren't top 8, but they were at the World Cup qualifiers, so...
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say DeFran has a fantastic season back. I mean, this guy's a great player as long as he doesn't have any meltdowns, which now he's on a professional roster. He's not on Selfless anymore. He's with an organization that can help him make sure that he doesn't freak out, that he's okay. I think he's in a better situation now, and I think he's a very skilled DPS player who's going to make a big name for himself once again on the Atlanta Reign this season. DeFran's going to be the man, the Atlanta man. What is next? Anticipated matchups. Who are you looking forward to seeing Atlanta play?
I mean, first week we're looking at Atlanta versus Florida. I think it's going to be. I think you're geographically closest teams for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to look around for some of these team comparisons. I mean, other players or other teams that pull from Element Mystic. I mean, we have Guard on London, and also Seoul has a couple players from that squad that they picked up. So some of those teams might be interesting. Again, looking just at player connections. But yeah, I don't know. It's harder for sure for one of these expansion teams really to draw some of these connections. But it'll definitely evolve as we get into the season.
Yeah, I feel like Atlanta, Florida is going to be a nice little rivalry, possibly. They're the closest team geographically, like you're saying, and the McDonald's thing, the Fran versus McDonald's. Um, Philly Fusion. I'm going to throw Philly Fusion out there just because of what we were saying earlier. They both are very similar strategy style, overall, very similar strategies going into their initial season. So I feel like that's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. Very
And they're
multi.
both owned.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and they're both owned by cable companies. But
Yes.
but yes, multicultural. You're right.
Multicultural cable companies here. But yeah, multicultural. They've got people from all over the world on their starting lineups, and the cable companies own them. So big rivalry right there. Yeah, those are the only two I've got. We'll see. We'll see what happens. These teams are going to build rivalries, of course, as it goes on. What place do you see Atlanta being in at the end of the season, Joe?
Yeah, so that one's harder to say. I mean, we've talked about lots of these returning teams. I think are going to do just on average a bit better than some of these expansion teams are, just on the nature of doing the things. But um, even ranking Atlanta among the expansion teams, I think is a little bit hard, just because of lots of the things that we don't know. I mean, like we know Vancouver's going to be a pretty good team. Um, at least the two of us seem to be convinced that DC will be on the lower end, but uh, some of these other ones are going to be harder. I think, uh, I don't know. Hopefully, what doesn't happen is that we see Atlanta go the way of Florida. I think their org seems a little bit more stable than that. We've seen Florida's really having to do some rebuilding this season, but uh, yeah, I don't know. It's so there's 20 total, so I think definitely Atlanta lands in the bottom half. I think. Uh, I think they could push towards the middle though if they wanted.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm with you on their bottom half. I don't see this team making playoffs. I see them like 15th to 17th. I don't think they're like a bottom tier, like very bottom, but I don't think they're playoff bound or wild card bound even. And I don't think they're too close to wild card bound either. I don't think they'll be fighting for it at the end of the season. Somewhere in 15 to 17 is where I got them. So that's one of our first. I feel like that's one of our first like disappointing placements, um, or disappointing previews. Probably are the least. Both of us don't like Atlanta too much, but Dallas. We're moving on to Dallas. They are a very interesting team. This is a very interesting preview. Dallas Fuel. This is our Pacific team, because they've had a very interesting offseason. It's caught a lot of people's attentions, especially Fuel fans. There are a lot of them. There are a lot of Fuel fans. Because not only did they start doing super well at the end of the season, but they have made some very nice changes in the off season, and some coaching changes in the off season. Joe, if you had to give this off season a grade, what would you give it?
Yeah, I think like the only nitpicky thing I think we could say about Dallas um, is their DPS line, and that's only because there's too much there.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the scale of problems to have. There's not much. Uh, not much better of a problem you can have here, but again, looking at Taimu Zekiri, AKM, and Effect, but yeah, no, I think great pick us already. Coming up with RCK to help out with OG on the main tank position. Obviously, keep him Mickey, but reinforcing the support line with the addition of closer from London, and obviously Zachary from NA Contenders from Fusion University. It's a huge contribution to that team. Hopefully, we'll be able to do the same on a sort of a flex DPS type position for Dallas. But yeah, I think. I don't think at all through the season that they did anything that we were really confused by or really upset by, which we can't say about every team. But yeah, so they definitely get an A. And obviously, the addition of I think Arrow was there already, but the addition of Jay and now also from World Cup Team Canada coming in as assistant coach, that's a really powerful coaching duo as well. That's going to be. I'm really excited to see where Dallas goes.
Oh yeah, I think their biggest upgrade was in the coaching, honestly. But yeah, RCK is a great addition. I think OG's everyone is head over heels for OG's tank play. It's like they don't even miss all their tanks. I just XQC to OGE, adding RCK. All these three letter, and then you
AKM.
also have AKM on your team. So many. Someone did make a post on the subreddit about a team with like abbreviations or three-letter names or whatever. That was pretty funny to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I also give Dallas's offseason an A. Zachary is a fantastic pickup. Especially to help out AKM. We know AKM's Genji's not the best, and AKM hasn't been too strong in some places where he has been forced to play, mostly because Effect wasn't there for him. But adding Zachary just helps AKM out even more. But I think it almost pushes AKM out to the side a little bit more too, along with Taimu, who I think both of these players were good at the beginning of Overwatch, but have consistently gotten a little bit worse as time has gone on, which stinks because Taimu was once the best in my opinion. So he's not looking good. So adding Zach is a fantastic pickup with the DPS line that is kind of getting older. But Zach's here now, the young boy. And then Closer is a fantastic pickup as well, because I don't think Harry Hook has been performing that well lately either. So Closer is a great pickup. I think they looked at their weaknesses and they filled them out and they really helped out their roster. I can't give them anything but an A for the Dallas Fuel. Standout players this season. Who's last year Dallas Fuel kind of had Effect, OGE, two standout players that everyone thought were just the best players on this roster by far. You had Mickey's Brig, which was fantastic. Who do you think's really going to step up this year for the Dallas Fuel?
Yeah, so I know definitely players I'm going to be watching definitely has to include Zachary, obviously. Again, really big on Fusion University as a Fusion fan, great. I really I enjoy watching Zachary also in the World Cup a little bit for Team USA. But so definitely there, or like you mentioned, I think Effect was probably easily one of the most hyped players going into Dallas Fuel Season 1, other than maybe XQC. And then a good portion of the season, that either wasn't there or felt like it definitely could have been underperforming. So we would really want to see Effect coming in and really doing what what we know he's capable of that wasn't always reached at different points in Season 1. It's probably those two, both DPS players, but Zachary and Effect, I think definitely.
Hopefully Effect has worked on his mental issues and is ready to get back to the game, because he's a fantastic player when he's playing at his best. I'm going to go with OGE and his fantastic tank play. I think more people would have noticed him. He would have got more credit. He would have been held up very high if the Dallas Fuel were actually a good team at the end of the season and were in the playoffs. I think OGE could have easily tussled with Fissure, tussled with all these other tank players everyone's talking about all the time, if his team was in the playoffs as well. So if they do make the playoffs and if they're good enough to do it, I think OGE is going to be up there for an MVP candidate, possibly Dallas Fuel, they made a lot of bitter rivals in season one. Who's your most anticipated matchup for them?
That's a good question. Because this is a team that's changed up enough even from season one, and then from season one from its origins. That it's a very different team. I think actually Dallas Philadelphia. I think we see that twice, right? No, well, just
No,
once.
once.
Uh, I can never remember which Texas team is in which division, but
Yeah, it's a tough
uh,
one.
but yeah, no, the Dallas Philadelphia, that's gonna be cool. Obviously, Philly were evidently turning down Zachary's contract options to send him to Dallas. That'll be interesting to watch. Zachary playing against the likes of Carpe and EQO. Um, and then obviously, Dallas Houston. We talked about that. You said that was like stage three sometime, I think. Uh,
Stage two. So
or
two.
stage two.
And the
Okay.
stage two, yeah. Or maybe both.
But yeah, those two definitely are going to be real cool to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely looking forward to both of those I think Houston Dallas, like I mentioned, one of my favorite matchups. Um, Dallas London's going to be cool now. The closer's on Dallas. That adds a little bit of a storyline to Dallas London now. Who else? Who else? Dallas LA is always fun. LA Valiant, that is. But yeah, Dallas versus anyone's fun. Honestly, it's fun to watch Dallas. So they could be playing anyone, and I would say, God, this is a heated rivalry because I feel like Dallas talks the most trash, sort of. Um, yeah, compared to season one, will Dallas do better, the same, or worse? And obviously, we're not talking. They're going to be. We're not talking what place they get. We're talking whether they didn't make playoffs last year. Do you think they're going to do better this year and possibly make it? Do you think they're going to be the same, about middle of the pack, or do you think they're going to be worse? They're going to be at the bottom of the pack.
I think definitely this team going into season two has all of the pieces that it needs to do really well. We saw even stage four last year that really sort of starting to step into their own. And it was the meta, but whatever. Brig's still meta. Um, but no, it's going to be really cool to watch and see exactly how how high they can go. I think because they're uh, not to overhype them, but I don't think there's much of a limit they're looking at right now, or at least not one that it's really hard to define until we start seeing them in action, start seeing them against some of these other teams that have also, changed up significantly more or less. But I think they're gonna do pretty well, or I hope they're gonna do really well for certainly going into 2019 season.
Yeah. Toot toot. The Dallas Fuel hype train is here. They're gonna do much better.
Did,
They're
did it
making.
did it ever really leave though?
Yeah, it's always been here, no matter how poorly they were doing. I remember that at last stage. It was like half our last season, like halfway through stage one, it was like, all right, they're finally here. It comes. They're finally gonna start winning. Like this team is not this bad. Like at every point in the season, I think I gave up on the Dallas Fuel. I was like, okay, this team's bad. Like at some point in stage two, but I feel like at one point in the season, there were still people that were like, this team's good. Like they're finally gonna show up.
I think they were the number one cheered team on Twitch all season, I
Yeah,
think.
exactly.
So
And that's because of
that's
all the
something.
personalities they had on their team. They had Siegel, they had XUC for a little bit there, and
For a while.
and yeah, everyone's a huge Dallas Fuel fan. I like their branding a lot. I love, but as a Houston Outlaws fan, I gotta hate them. But I do think they're going to be better this year. I know everyone was saying Dallas was going to be one of the best teams, but I think they've come out. I mean, they don't have too much of their envious roster left. They finally have adapted to the times. They've got some great coaches. Like if they don't make playoffs this year, it's going to be disappointing, or at least the wild card playoffs. If they don't even make the wild card thing, that's going to be even more disappointing. But I think they're going to do a lot better this year. Anything else to say about the Dallas Fuel before we sign on off, Joe?
I don't think so. No.
This was
This
it was
has
a
gotten to be a big episode.
it was a long episode for how little was on our rundown, but we're here. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Hopefully we'll be back next week. It is a Christmas next week, but hopefully me and Joe can find a time.
Yeah, might be Wednesday or Thursday, but it'll work.
Yeah, we'll find some time to do it. Social media, if you want to follow us on our personal Twitters, mine is at JWGeorgeIV and Joe's is at Kirkpatrick_Inc. That's INC. Our show has a personal Twitter. It's On the Flank Show. And we have an email, ontheflankshow@gmail.com. You can either tweet at us or email us if you have any topics you would like us to talk about. Of course, you are listening to this in some way. If you want to listen to it in a different way, we are on ontheflank.podbean.com. We're on my personal YouTube, which you can find linked on my Twitter account. We're on iTunes. We're on Apple Podcasts. And if you're an Android person, we are on Spotify and we are on Google Play. Thank you guys for listening to this very long but nice episode of On the Flank. We will catch you guys next week.